Welcome to the National Institute for Health and Care Research Mentoring Programme and this Professional Development webinar series. I'm Julie Haddock-Millar and I'm one of the programme facilitators. In this session, we're going to look at how to begin the mentoring relationship, and it will be no longer than 10 minutes. The agenda. Points to consider when beginning the mentoring relationship, embarking on the first mentoring session. I'm also going to show you a number of references, items as resources that you can review to support your mentoring relationship. We're going to look at a number of different aspects when beginning the mentoring relationship, which is shown on this slide. Getting to know each other, defining mentoring, and we'll look at, for example, feedback and review. I'll take you through all 8 topics. So the first, getting to know each other, incredibly important when beginning the mentoring relationship. This often takes time, and the getting to know each other will evolve as you become more familiar with each other as the relationship progresses. You might want to explore each other's background, career journey, significant milestones. And importantly, why did you both join the mentoring programme? What led you as a mentor or a mentee to join the programme? The second, defining mentoring. Now, we know that mentoring means different things to different people. Many of you will have either been a mentor or a mentee previously, and therefore you arrive at the programme with ideas and assumptions about what mentoring is and is not. So it's very useful to explore that, but also because the mentoring is framed within a programme, within an organisational context, to consider the organisation and the programme and how both define mentoring. Expectations, incredibly important at the beginning of the mentoring relationship and throughout, sharing your initial expectations of each other in the context of the mentoring relationship and the programme. This might change as the relationship evolves, but an initial discussion in the first couple of meetings is very helpful. Practicalities. Now, there's a long list here of points to consider in relation to practicalities. I won't go through all of them as you can read the slide, but just picking out 1 or 2. Who is responsible for what in the mentoring relationship? So, for example, organising the meetings, bringing agenda items, taking notes, sharing notes. Contact between sessions. That's incredibly important. Are you going to share emails or WhatsApp, for example? Can you be contacted between sessions? How often might you review progress? We'll talk about that in a moment. The mentoring contract. Now, I've mentioned here on this slide the European Mentoring Coaching Council and the competency framework. One of the key mentoring competencies is managing the contract. Now, within the context of coaching, we tend to talk about a contract. Within the context of mentoring, we tend to talk about an agreement. Now, that might be a verbal agreement, which sets out expectations, roles, and responsibilities. It might be a written agreement. In the programme handbook, we've given you a template and an example of an agreement that you might adapt. But it's important at least to have a verbal agreement in place around expectations and practicalities. Ethics, we touched on this in the programme orientation. Incredibly important as it's a topic that underpins our mentoring practice, the relationship and how mentors and mentees conduct themselves. And we're guided by the EMCC Global Code of Ethics. And you have a link and a copy of this in the programme handbook that you can refer to. Feedback, giving and receiving feedback. It's an important aspect of any professional practice, particularly in the context of mentoring, to understand how the relationship is evolving over time. And we suggest trying to develop a culture of ongoing feedback as it develops self-insight and often improves the progress of the relationship and the quality of the conversation. And review. So reviewing the mentoring relationship at key intervals, important in the context of both mentoring and coaching. And here on this slide, I've given you a number of questions that you may want to draw on to review the mentoring relationship at key intervals. So a number of topics to consider when you're beginning the mentoring relationship in those first few meetings. I also wanted to touch on planning your first mentoring session and a number of questions that are helpful in that preparation phase. So thinking about, for example, what would you like to know about your mentee or mentor? What would you like to share about yourself? What support are you looking for in the mentoring relationship, and what support can you give? Going into that first meeting, what are your expectations of the mentoring relationship? And this might be based, of course, on past experience. So a number of points to consider when embarking on your first meeting. So what next? A couple of reflective questions. So thinking about the first mentoring meeting, what topics of conversation might you focus on in the first meeting? Perhaps those 8 topics that I provided, there might be others that are important to you. And if you were to design a mentoring agreement, what might you find important? What would you like to include? Useful to give that some thought as well ahead of the first mentoring session. We have developed an online topic guide to support, and it has a number of references and some reading material. I provided some content here, taken largely from the topic guide. If you do have any questions at all about the mentoring programme, we have the development support email here, and you're welcome to contact the team. Thanks very much.